Women have been conditioned by society to be, act, and think a certain way. Here at Girls IRL, we encourage women to challenge societal norms and embrace their femininity. With that being said, let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Girls in Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Mariah Clayton, and I have a treat for y'all today. I am so excited. Today's episode is going to be, we're talking about individuality, embracing your authentic self, and I honestly could not think of a better person than Miss New York and Heaven's Receptionist, Miss Taryn Delaney Smith. Hello, girlie.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I found you through TikTok. So I know that you're like in the pageant world, but I think my first time ever like knowing who you were was seeing a video of your TikTok, and I don't even remember what video it was. I just remember seeing the video and being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with her. Her personality, she's so funny. She's so just like laid back and down to earth." And then when I clicked on your profile, it said Miss New York, and I was like, "No way." Like follow immediately on all social media platforms. Like, this is a fellow pageant girly. I have to show her love. So that's really how I like got introduced to you, was through your TikTok content. And now to just see how much you've like grown and all the interviews and everything, like it's just been so incredible to see. And I know that it's been like a crazy journey for you probably as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it has been wild, but that is absolutely the energy when you see somebody and you're like, oh, that's cool, and then you go to their page and they're like a sister of the sash. It absolutely, oh, immediate follow, like we are one, we're one spirit.
Yes.
A niche interest, right? So yeah, no, yeah, it's been very unexpected. When I won, well, not before that. So when I became a content creator, when I first my videos out on TikTok, I was a receptionist, and I was going to grad school full time, doing my homework like at my desk at my breaks. Like I felt like I was really, I honestly just felt very. I remember I always felt like I was on the precipice of something amazing happening, but
You just didn't know what it was.
and also like, okay, like where is it? I'm ready for my amazing thing to happen. I just felt like I was working so hard, and I mean, I remember I think I was making like $17 an hour or something like that, and I like, man, I want to be creative. I want to have fun. And I felt like I was really locked into a world where I was not able to be creative at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's really hard, especially if you have creative inclination. If you want to connect with people, I have often found, unfortunately, that in general, corporate America really does not allow you to do that. I think a lot of people really excel in corporate America. I mean, a lot of my coworkers did, and I often felt like, man, I don't feel called to this like I feel like I should. And so when I put out my first TikTok, I think my first one like went viral. Like I think I had 2 videos on that TikTok page, and a lot of people were like, "Is this a real person?" Because they're like, this video had 21 million views, and I had no profile picture, I had no videos on my page. And I just started creating, and I started talking to my audience, started responding to comments with videos, and sometimes at my desk, other times walking to work. And people were just like, who is this woman?
Where did she come from?
Yeah, and I kind of was like, same, I don't know. Where did I come from? Who am I? I think it really pushed me to people. I was like, basically, I mean, it was sort of like God gave me a prompt. It's like, okay, so people want to get to know you.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that look like? Who do you want to be? And I'm grateful that I took that opportunity to not put airs on to be anybody other than. I mean, there was many times, especially in the beginning, and then especially when I was competing for Miss New York, where I was extraordinarily tempted to like rein it in, hold back, be different, because being weird is so. It's so fun, but it feels so vulnerable to really. Whenever I always say that being yourself is very scary. Be authentically yourself should feel very scary, because if you're really being honest with who you are running the risk that people won't like it or won't like you, and that feels very personal.
Yeah.
And so there are many times where I was tempted to like hold back, and I guess in conclusion, I'm glad that I didn't, and that's how we are where we are today. That was such a long answer.
No, that's okay. I feel like you said a lot there, and we're gonna dive into like all of these little crooks and crannies of your life and how you got started and your journey to the crown and even just your journey with finding yourself. But I just have to say I totally relate to the whole like working and being in grad school thing and feeling so stifled of your creativity because I was in that same boat. Like I had went back to school because you know my parents made me and I was living with them, so they were like, you either got to go to school or you got to get a job, and nobody was hiring me. So I was like, well, gotta go back to school. So I was getting my master's degree in school counseling, and I just remember I had a graduate assistant job that was actually paying my tuition for school. So this was a job that I had to go to 5 times a week for 20 hours a week. And I remember like being just so depressed sitting in that office because I worked in like the nursing building, like the graduate nursing building, and I had to like sit at my desk and answer emails and answer phone calls and file paperwork and like do all this stuff that literally I hate doing in an office with no windows. Like it was just the
My office also had no windows.
ah
That was the
it's
wildest part. My office was so crazy too because there was an office, there were empty rooms across the hall from me that had windows. And sometimes, if you were really lucky and like somebody cool was managing you, they would let you go work in that room.
yeah.
But I would really be in that room because like there's this great view of New York City, and like somebody would come in and be like, "Get back in your office," and you'd be like, "Ah!" And like, what kind of life is this?
It's
Like,
horrible.
I think there are environments that are lovely to work in. Just because I haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's not out there.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, I feel you on that. I feel you on that. Like,
It's like
not a
living
window.
in a cardboard box almost. And I get my energy from like the sun. I love to like people observe. So being in a room like that, it was just very draining. You never know what time it is. Like you don't know what's going on outside of the world. It feels like you're just in your own little bubble. So I just remember coming home like every night crying, doing my homework, having to wake up at 5 a.m. because I had to drive an hour away to school, and it was just so hard for me. And I felt like you, I was like, I feel like I'm on the precipice of something huge, and like I don't know what it is, but I need it to come now so that I can get myself out of this situation where I feel like I can't even completely be myself fully because I'm trying to fit in with these older office work women, and I feel like I have to wear certain things and I have to not talk about certain things and I can't express myself in certain ways. And so it was definitely very stifling to be in that environment. And lo and behold, that same fall, I ended up winning Miss Louisiana USA, dropped out of grad school, and then, you know, COVID happened and ruined everything else. But at that point, I was like, okay, I realized that everything that I've ever wanted, dreamed, yearned for, it can come to fruition. I just have to be patient. I have to wait for my time, and I have to be willing to like sacrifice myself in those small moments so that when it gets to my big moment and I'm able to, you know, do the things that I want to do, I can appreciate it a lot more. So I definitely like relate to you on that whole thing about going to grad school and working and not just being able to not feel like yourself. So I have a question. Were you always living in New York, or did you move to New York? Like, how did we get here?
I'm from Seattle. I'm from
No.
Seattle. I'm from the 206. I'm
What?
from West Seattle. I love my home, my hometown. But I knew I was. I mean, I when I was like 15, 16, I was in photography class, and I remember one of our assignments was to like they wanted our photography teacher wanted us to like find photos on the internet and create like a dream board
Mm-hmm.
of what you want our lives to be, including our dream job and so on. And I had all these photos of New York. I had two Harlequin. There's this picture of Naomi Campbell walking this Harlequin Great Dane. And I love that picture. I was like, Naomi Campbell with the Harlequin Great Dane. And I'm literally sitting next to my Great Dane
Look
right
at
now.
him.
I didn't grow into Naomi Campbell, unfortunately, but I got close enough. Um, and I remember my teacher was like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I remember being like, "What? I want to live in New York. I want to have a life in New York. I want it to be colorful and big. And like, look at this dream board. I want it to be all these things." And they were like, "Yeah, but what's your plan?" And I remember being like, I didn't even know I needed one. I just know that this is where I'm gonna be, and I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I know that I'm gonna get there. Um, and I remember I had lots of different ideas of what I wanted to do. I wanted at one point I thought maybe I'll be a photographer, and then I thought maybe I'll be an interior designer. Right? I used to watch 13 going on 30, and then I thought, okay, then I want to do that. Like I want to work at a magazine. When in reality, I just wanted to be in New York. And and so yeah, when I was 18, I won Miss Seattle. So I didn't go. I stayed in Seattle. Well, a lot of my friends went off to universities. I went to community college because my like local scholarship with Miss Seattle paid for community college. So I was like, that's what I can afford. So I went to community college. I worked, kept my head down, and then I kind of hung out, and continued community college for a little bit, and then I applied to St. John's University in New York. It was the only school I applied to. I literally just decided that was the school I was going to. And I told my mom, I was like, if I get in, then I'm going to commit. And of course, my mom, who's very sage, was like, hang on, there's a process to choosing a university. We should visit some. Nope. If I get in, it's a sign. I'm someone wrong because I think everything's a sign. I did get into St. John's and I committed right when they called me that I got in. I was like, I'm going to commit. That's fine. I'll do it. And so when I moved to New York, I actually really hadn't been to New York. I didn't know a lot about New York other than what I saw in film. But I haven't. I never left after that.
Oh, I love that. So you're like literally bi-coastal over here. That's
Yes. Are you
crazy.
still
What'd you say?
in Louisiana? Like, do you live in Louisiana now?
Yes, born and raised, never really been much of anywhere else. I have been to New York a handful of times. I want to say maybe like 5 or 6 times. I love New York. My dream used to be to be like a high fashion model, and then I never made it over 5 feet tall. So I was like, yeah, that's not gonna work. But I have done some model work in New York and just like doing commercial stuff. So I love New York. I don't think I could ever live in New York because it gets too cold. I'm from the South. I don't know if I can handle all the snow and the freezing and the walking, and well, I actually don't mind the walking, but the weather has to be right. Like I don't like when it's really cold. So if it's like I'm living there in the wintertime, I don't think I would have a good time.
I mean, we're none of us are having a good time in the winter. Literally nobody. You're not gonna look out and have people like, oh my god, it's so great. It's not. And even when it snows, it's not like cute snow. It's like horrific
Right.
snow.
It's like up to here
I,
snow.
yeah, and so I mean, maybe the first dusting of snow is pretty, and then after a week you're over it. It's dirty snow. It's brown. It's bad. So yeah, no, I get it. I think that every year in the middle of winter, around January or February, I guess yeah, that's the middle of winter in New York. You're like, I'm always like, why do I live here? Like I don't understand why I live here. And then June, July hits,
And
and you're
it's
like,
so
this is
nice and it's so pretty.
like, oh
Yes.
God, I'll never leave. And it's just like repeating cycle.
Yeah. So how did you I want to know the background of how you got started in pageants. Was that something that you were always interested in? Did somebody kind of like push you towards that area? How do we get started?
So yeah, I was super weird. I mean, I'm the same person now that I was in high school, but I just had like undiagnosed ADHD, and I was just doing um, and I had braces and really, I had this big gap in my teeth, and I never seemed to be wearing the right clothes, and I was really involved. I was a cheerleader too, which you're like, what isn't our cheerleaders like super cool? Not me. I managed to make being a cheerleader not cool. I loved it though. I love making friends. I love my girls. Like I loved those parts of high school. I loved the socialness of it. But I just always felt like I was way too big, way too loud, you know, just too much for any room that I was in. And I really wanted to help people. I really wanted to be on stage. There were these things that I really wanted to do, but I didn't go to a performing arts high school. And so I remember I sang in a talent show. Like anytime there was a talent show, like I was about to be in it. I was like, hey, anytime I was always right on stage. And a teacher heard me, a home ec teacher heard me sing, and her sister was Miss Washington, and she had competed in Miss Washington. And so her name's Danielle. We're still very close to this day. She's amazing. And she just hounded me for a year. Like, she's like, I think you could be Miss America. And it's funny now because, I mean, I was first runner up to Miss America, so that actually is very plausible now. But at the time, this was the most implausible suggestion
Right.
that I had ever heard. I mean, not only did I not see myself as beautiful, I mean, that's hard at 15 to see yourself as beautiful, so I certainly didn't. But beyond that, I just I mean, I didn't fit anywhere. And so how could I be somebody that people, like, how could I be this image that I had in my head of what that was supposed to look like? I was so far from it. And so it took actually a lot of convincing. And I think it wasn't until, I mean, she brought it up every time I saw her in the hall, all the time. And then finally, when I was 17, um, I got my braces off and I had a little boost of confidence. She called me to her room and she's like, Taryn, will you please do Miss Washington? Will you compete for Miss Seattle? She was like, I think you'd win Miss Seattle. I didn't think I'd win Miss Seattle, but I said I would try. That was a big step that I agreed to try. And I did win Miss Seattle on my first try. And it was crazy that I won Miss Seattle. At the time when I was competing, Seattle was like a very big title in Washington. Like, this was cool. So I went to Miss Washington, made top 10, went back to Miss Washington the next year, made top 5, went back to Miss Washington the year after that, made top 5 again. So it was really clear that I was really good at this. And the more that I did Miss Washington, while I was going to community college when I was a senior in high school, the more that I was like, I'm really celebrated in this space. Like, I'm good at this. Obviously, like, right, there was this instant gratification that when you do well,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really just for being myself. Like, I was really able to just walk into a room and talk or sing and have fun. My bigness, for once, was really celebrated on the stage. It was really rewarding me, and so I I got bit by the bug. Like, I just loved it. And then, but became very clear that I was not going to win Miss Washington. Like, when you, I don't know many times you competed for Louisiana, USA. Was it your first try you won?
No, I went on my third.
Your third. That's not bad. Better than me. I was out here. I think it was my sixth try. Oh my god! But I I just was always the bridesmaid, never. I just could tell that I wasn't gonna win Miss Washington, and I was like, okay, reality check. And I was like, but that's cool because we're moving to New York anyway, and I was meant to be Miss New York. And I remember when I moved to New York, I was already like, I was kind of sourcing people, talking to folks like, what's Miss New York like? What's the name of the game? And yeah, and I won on Miss New York on my second try. I was first runner up my first year at Miss New York, and then I came back and I won.
That's so cool. I feel like our stories are so similar. It's like scary. Because I felt the same way. Like, I was not a pageant girl, like, at all. And this image of what I had of what a pageant girl should be and what she should look like and what she should do, I was not that. And so my sister is the one who got me into pageants. And I literally thought that she was crazy and insane and didn't think that it would ever take me anywhere. I didn't even think that I would like it. I did it just to appease her. And then, of course, you get caught by the pageant bug. And like you said, that instant gratification. My first pageant, I would actually competed as a teen. I was 18 years old and I got second runner up. And I thought that I was going to just like not place at all. So I was like, wait, like, I didn't even really train for this. I didn't really do anything. Like, maybe I am kind of good at this. Like, let's just see where this goes. And so, I mean, long story short, we know how it ends, but I definitely relate to you on that of just like having this image of what you think a pageant girl is supposed to be and knowing that you don't fit that mold. But that's what I think is so beautiful about especially pageantry today is that you get so many different diverse women now, and it's almost like anybody can win a pageant. Anybody can be a pageant girl because there's not this mold anymore. I mean, I feel like in certain standards, yes, but in overall, like as far as your personality and your hair type and your skin color, like anybody can kind of find a person and see themselves in them. And I think that you're definitely one of those people, as far as like little black girls and having natural hair and all of that stuff. Because I know you were the first Miss New York, the black one, to wear your natural hair, right?
Yeah, yeah. And and while we've had many Black Miss New Yorks, and we've had Black Miss Americas, we actually still have yet to have a Black Miss America crowned
With
rocking natural curls or a black hairstyle, like in that regard.
yeah,
Um, so maybe one day, I hope we will. Not maybe one day, we
we
will one day.
will.
Later. But yeah, that was really cool, and I think a lot of people were like, "Why does that?" Okay, who cares? Like, you're not the first Black Miss New York. There's been many Black Miss New Yorks, like, which is awesome. I love the legacy I'm part of. But I feel like only those of us that are within that community can understand why that is substantial, why that matters. Because when I was competing, I was blatantly told, you know, and just keep your hair straight, or we need to get this girl a
Same.
weave. Yeah, exactly. And like, oh, we just need to get you the right weave. We got to fix that weave. Um, And so I remember it was always about like having the right hair, the most natural looking weave, right? And like to just become part of this homogenous group of people to blend better uh, with white people or white standards.
Right.
And so yeah, by the time I got, and I competed in all through, I never competed with my natural hair on the Miss Washington stage, not once. That's not anyone's fault. That's not because anybody there was like, don't do that. It was more so any advice that I received was really well intentioned as well. I have to say that. It was also a different time. That was back in 2015, 2016. It was a different time. And so I don't think that that's true now. Here in New York, yeah, I remember feeling like I'm gonna do this. Like and I remember I almost changed my mind at the last minute and got a weave just because I was like, what if I don't win, just because of my stupid hair? And then I was like, well, then I don't want to win.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't want to win if that's what I have to do because I'm tired of wearing weaves and I'm tired of straightening my hair. So let's just figure this out. It ended up being a huge pillar of my year as Miss New York.
Yeah, I can attest to that too. I mean, I was the first Miss Louisiana to win with my natural hair. We've only had two other black queens. One was like in the 90s, and the other one was in 2015, Malia Papillon. And then there was me, and I won with my natural hair. And same, like I had competed with straight hair, with sew ins, and all this type of stuff. And then I was competing for my last time because I was just giving myself one more try. I was like, if I don't win, like I just need to move on with my life. But I didn't want to have any regrets. Like I just wanted to go authentically as myself and just like see what happened. And that's when I won, was when I decided to just like fully embrace everything about myself and show that to the judges, to the audience, and to everybody who was following me on my journey.
Yeah, I think that the biggest testament to it is, and it has nothing really to do. Like, obviously, we're not saying that it's wrong to wear protective
Right,
style.
absolutely not. But it's just the
But if
times,
you're doing,
like there was a time where you could not even think to wear your natural hair on stage. You could not think to wear an afro. You could not think to wear braids. You could not think to wear like your natural hair. Like it was just unheard of. So
yeah,
just to get to a point now where it's more common, where we're seeing natural haired queens being crowned, that's a great, and it's a blessing. But I'm also ready to see somebody with braids or dreadlocks or just something
they
like
say.
that.
I mean, I will say Miss Mass, and
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, yeah, she was on Miss America Story with braids, and that was so cool.
Yes.
I love her. I told her I recently was with her at, we were at Miss Connecticut, and I told her, I was like, seeing you, those braids in the top 5 at Miss America was, I don't know if it was a big deal it was a big deal for a lot of people. That was so cool. Um, and so, yeah, again, I think recognizing that within myself, when I saw other people do it, when I saw other people, not even just there on red carpets in Hollywood. It's still not really done. I will say, like, it's really not that often that you're seeing natural hairstyles and black hairstyles on red carpets.
Right.
So when I do see it, I always recognize the feeling that I get, where I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's you. And then I think to myself, well, you have that same power to do that in your own space.
Absolutely.
And that's really all it is.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
this whole episode, we're going to be talking about just like embracing your individuality and your authentic self. And there's already been a lot of conversation. I mean, we've been talking for like 20 minutes now just about our own stories. And I really just wanted to have this episode because I feel like everything in the world right now is so trend focused, and it's all about like aesthetics, and it's all about like just finding this perfect thing. And I don't know, I can appreciate, a good aesthetic. I can appreciate a good like,
Because your Instagram is so aesthetically pleasing.
oh,
Like
I
you
feel like
always
I am the most least aesthetic person in the world.
know. Oh my god, your girl, have you seen my page? It looks like a thread on it. But it is what it is. Like I'm out here doing I'm out here. But I love your page. I actually think it's very aesthetically pleasing.
Well, thanks. I guess I've just been seeing like a lot of TikTok videos where it's like the coastal cowgirl aesthetic and like what that entails, and like the grandma aesthetic and like what that entails, and the clean girl aesthetic. And I just feel like constantly we're trying to achieve some type of, I don't even know what to call it. It's just like we're trying to achieve this type of lifestyle that we see other people living, and we're like, oh, wait, I want to be that. But then it's kind of an internal battle because it's like, do I really want to, pursue this because it's something that I want to do, or is it something that I've just been influenced to like? And I feel like that's the society that we're in right now, is especially with me personally. I don't know about you or anybody else, but for me personally, I feel like I have a lot of internal struggles where it's like, do I actually like this, or do I just like this on her, and I've been influenced to, like try and wear this type of outfit or try and achieve this type of lifestyle. Like, is this even what I want to do? Like, sometimes I have to internally check myself and be like, Mariah, are you just being influenced right now, or is this truly who you are? So that's something that I've been just, I don't know, trying to navigate in the world today, is like, am I being influenced, or am I, trying to walk towards more of what's more like me?
I feel like what I've struggled with is um, subconsciously the narrative has been pushed very quietly, but very consistently, of equating perfection with success. And the way that looks to me is like these morning routines where it's 6 a.m. wake up, and it's like, the ASMR, they like pack all their food for the day, the water bottle, and then you see their apartment, it's amazing. And then they also, by the way, when they go to the gym at 6 in the morning, they have like the cutest matching gym set, right? And then they pull their hair up and it looks great, and they get into their Range Rover and they're like, right, again, obviously I'm watching these videos are popping on my For You page. They're sometimes there's something satisfying about them, so you end up watching them. But what I realized is what I was doing is I was really consuming a lot of messaging that was telling me that success and perfection were like directly related, when in reality, when I really sit back and I look at my life and I look at the things that I am most proud of in my life,
Mm-hmm.
um, they had nothing to do with me doing them perfectly. They largely had to do with me, um, usually success has to do with a lot of trial and error, failure. There's also a lot of joy infused into that, right? There's a lot of laughter, a lot of like, I don't know. I think success for some people, like for me, it actually can be kind of chaotic or kind of messy. It's like you're figuring it out as you go. Things never fall perfectly into place. I don't think I have ever had a morning that went perfectly to schedule. At least not me. That's just not who or how I am.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't think, and I've had to realize, but every time I start to see something like that, and I'm like, I got to do stuff more like this. Like I have to have a morning that is the itinerary is like I have an itinerary in my morning that I do perfectly every time. But then I think, do itineraries even make you happy? No. I hate itineraries. I hate doing things on an exact schedule. There is nothing that pisses me off more than trying to keep me on a stupid schedule. So why have I been influenced? That's like what you're saying. Like I think you're so right. And the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, yeah, you're so right. Like there have been so many moments where I feel pressured to do things, buy things, to create a lifestyle that I've been, set like this subtle messaging telling me that that's what will make me feel and be successful. When in reality, I love my life. I love my own successes, and they all came without perfection.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm reminding myself, especially like when my house doesn't look perfect. It actually makes me really annoyed. It makes me very grumpy. Like I'll look around and I'm like, my house is clean, but like I have a Great Dane. I have a 200-pound dog, so my house is never really perfect. And or even just like I like my art, right? But when I look at like aesthetic home decor, it doesn't look like my house.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I find that it affects my mood. Where I'm like, why isn't my house more? What did you say? Like it's like grandma chic or
Yeah.
whatever.
I don't know. They're
Girl,
calling it all kinds of things. I'm just like, okay, what other names can we think of?
I know, right? Cowgirl, tennis mom, aesthetic, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what my aesthetic is. But again, I'm like, you're so right. I think you're right. It is so good to check in and be like, are you only feeling this way because you've been influenced to, And when I
Yeah.
really look at myself, yeah, I that's true because I like my furniture. I like my house. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. Like when I see those videos of like the morning routine and like the perfect makeup tutorial and like all this stuff, I'm like, why can I not have this? Or why can I do my videos not portray that way to other people? And for me, I think it's just I don't know. It's just like this constant battle and struggle of like trying to reach that perfectionism because we see it so much every single day. But then you also have to remind yourself like these people are probably not perfect. These people are all probably struggling with their own thing. Just because she went to the store and restocked her refrigerator to perfection doesn't mean that she doesn't have clothes that need to be folded up, you know?
Those are wild to me when people are like, they have all the boxes in there. That is wild. I can't even believe it. I shoved some grapes in my crisper, and then I forget when they rot. And I'll be like, I'm like, oh, I want a grape, and I pick it up, and it literally just molds. And
Yes.
I'm like, I forgot about these grapes. I don't know how y'all are stocking the fridges like this.
At
I would like
all.
to.
It is insane. It really is.
I will admit though, I think there are some people that do it very well, and this is something that their strength, like
Right.
right, they to like feed into this aesthetic really well. They're able to do it. They
Mhm.
probably find it very satisfying to do and gratifying and fun. And I want to respect that
Yeah.
in the same way that like I like to storytell. I like to be funny, and I've met so many people that are like, oh my god, I could never talk in my videos. Like I don't want to talk in my videos. That's not my thing. I've tried to, and it never works out. And so I think the real lesson is like stick to what feels good to you
Yeah.
and what you actually instead of because I've how people have I met that do great aesthetic videos, but they really don't talk, and they'll come to me and they're like, I really feel like because they've been watching tons of videos, like what kind of more what we do, but it's more about human connection. And like I feel like I get on this trend of human connection, but I'm not really good at that. And so I think it's really interesting. I think we're often all looking at each other and looking to the left and to the right and comparing ourselves. Everybody.
Yeah, I think everybody has their own strengths, and like if that is your strength, then kudos to you. And like I know that that's good for you, but like you said, for us, it's not that we can't do it. It's just that it's not innately who we are, like what we like to do. And even just like seeing the videos and stuff, like you can definitely pull inspiration from people. Like you could want your refrigerator to look like that. You could want your house to be this aesthetic. You could want your style to be this or that. But I don't think that we should make it like unless it's truly who you are, I don't think that it's something that should be made into your entire identity and something that you feel like you have to stick to. And if you step away from this aesthetic, then like something is wrong, you know, because it's okay to pull inspiration from those things, but also still to be true to who you are and warp it into like something that actually does, satisfy you and, help you be a better version of yourself, I guess.
But also, if you're sitting here and you're like, you know what aesthetic I need? Grandma countryside tennis chic. You know what I mean? And you're like, let me just change my whole world so that I can fit into this stupid aesthetic that I don't even really know what it is. You know what I mean? That is so weird to me
Yeah.
too. That is also very odd. I mean, again, art is derivative of art. You can be affected by things, right? But I would say like to change. I think that what's concerning to me is when I talk to folks or I notice it in myself, where you're becoming frustrated with how or who you are naturally because you want to be different. I think that's when you have to kind of look introspective. Like you're made, you are perfectly made as you are. You're who you are, what makes you strong. So lean into it instead of running away from it.
I mean, I definitely feel like that's easier said than done, and especially depending on like where you are at in your walk of life. Like we said earlier, when we were in high school and, we weren't really confident in ourselves, we didn't think we were beautiful, we didn't think that, our dreams could become reality. There was a lot of self-doubt. And now like we're 26 and 27 years old and we're able to look back and be like, "Dang, I wish I could have told my younger self that it's going to get better. I wish I would have told my younger self, that group of friends, even though they don't appreciate you, they're going to teach you a lesson that's going to help you in this next phase of your life," or whatever the case may be. Like, it really is hard, especially as a young person in today's society where there's so much external influences from the media and magazines and even just people in your life. It's really hard to have the confidence to accept yourself fully in a world where it's almost kind of like looked down upon, and in a world where everybody seems to have this perfect life. Your friends, like you said, they have this perfect body, they have this perfect life, they have this perfect job, they just got a new car, they just got a new house, and meanwhile I don't feel as confident in myself as I think other people are as confident, even though they're probably struggling with their own shit that you don't even know or realize, but they're just not saying it out loud. So I think that it's just this constant cycle of you having to fully embrace who you are authentically. But like I said, it's easier said than done because if you're in a space in your life where you're not super confident and you have a lot of self doubt and you don't fully know who you are yet, then it can be really difficult to kind of walk into who you're supposed to be.
I love that, walk into who you're supposed to be. And I do think that I do think we walk into it. I think that I love how you said that. I think as well because we don't run, right? Or you don't just suddenly become. You literally walk into who you are, into who you're supposed to be. You have to savor each step too. I'm gonna say I don't think that I fully walked into who I'm gonna be. Like I think I'm still walk. I feel that I'm still walking. There's so much I still have to figure out. I learn myself all the time, and there's so many things that I really want to work on in myself. I know that I can be better. I say that with my whole chest. Like there are so many things I really want to improve on in myself, and so I love that idea that like at 26 and 27, I also want to put out there like I don't think we're arrived.
No.
Like that we're still on that journey. We're still walking, and that's so cool. Also, like, do you feel like becoming a mother? Do you feel like I have so many questions about this because I'm I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Do you feel like in becoming a mother, do you like actively like feel yourself learning and changing and growing quickly and faster than you have in other phases of your life?
Um, I don't necessarily think so. I think that you have to adjust more quickly. So I guess in a
Yeah,
sense, yeah. But as far as me figuring out who I am as a mother and what that looks like for me, like I'm still figuring that out. And I think that's something that I'm going to figure out until my son is probably 18. And even still, I probably will still feel like, there's so much more that I can do. There's so much, different that I could be and be a better mother. But it's definitely been a journey within itself, and it's been a very selfless journey. It's been the most selfless journey that I've ever been on because for my entire life everything was about me, me, me. Everything was about my dreams and my goals and what I wanted to do and where I wanted to live and the life that I wanted to see for myself. And now I'm like, everything in my life has slowed down so much to where I can't even at times physically think about my own future because I'm so concerned with his future. And so this is actually something that I've been struggling with is and just being so emotional about because I have a lot of big dreams and I know that they are things that I can accomplish. And right now, I feel like I cannot take steps towards my goals because I'm a stay at home mom, because he literally can't go more than 3 or 4 hours without seeing me and he's gonna start crying and throw a fit. So I feel like I constantly have to be in this space where I'm providing for him and where I'm with him and I'm taking care of him, and that doesn't leave as much time for myself, even just like being able to brush my teeth in the morning. Like there are just so many things that I feel like personally I've put on the back burner in order to show up as a good mom for Ace. And that's something that's been really, really hard because I always said I never wanted my identity to become a mom. I never wanted to just be known as a mom because I was someone else before Ace. I'm going to be someone else after Ace. And that is what I've been struggling with, is just like trying to find that balance of like being Ace's mom, but also still being Mariah and pursuing the things that I still want to pursue and know that I can make happen, if that makes sense.
yeah, I totally could understand how you feel that way. You're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks.
I can see that. You're doing a great job. And look, you look. I mean, you showed up this morning. We're on this podcast, hosting your own show, and also you look stunningly beautiful.
Thank you.
Like, you have a full face. I'm like, shoot, I didn't get my full face on. What's my excuse? You know, I mean, and I think it's an amazing thing. I totally understand how. Of course, I'm not in that same space, but I can, really sympathize and understand that. I'm sure that's how that would feel. But at the same time, the way from where I'm sitting and looking at you, it's such an incredible accomplishment. How far you've come, being the wonderful mother that you are, and then having that motivation and that excitement and will that you're like on and yes and
Yeah.
right. I'm a mother. I love to hear like that's so inspirational for me. So I feel like what you're teaching me right now is like also keeping in mind that like we can't know. I don't even think sometimes we can even know our dreams, or
Hmm.
we can't even know the impact that we're going to have because like you can have a vision for that, but like you don't even know how you're impacting people with your voice,
Yeah.
with sharing truth and your vulnerability and your lessons. Like, you're impacting me right now. So, I mean, that's a beautiful thing in and of itself.
Thank you. Yeah, I try, it's been a long journey, especially for me showing up as my authentic self because I feel like I've been in so many spaces where I felt like I had to appease certain groups of people and be a certain type of person in order to be accepted. And there was a quote that I absolutely love, and that has just been like Bible to me ever since I read it. And it's don't trade your authenticity for approval. And ever since I read that quote, I was like, I don't need to trade who I am authentically. I don't need to little myself down for other people just to be approved by these friend groups or just to be approved by whatever job I'm in or just to be approved by a guy that I like. I don't have to warp myself into these different types of people, and I can truly just be myself if and if that's what they want, then that's what they want, and if it's not, then it's just not, and I have to move on, and I have to go find somebody who's going to accept me fully as myself. And so that's something that I've really just been like, this is what it is, this is who I am. You're either going to like it or you don't, and if you don't, that's too bad for you. You're missing out. I guess kind of like piggybacking off of that, there, like I said, there are so many external factors that make us want to conform to society and kind of like be this different version of ourselves. But like I mentioned earlier, you have to do a lot of introspective thinking for yourself to figure out, like, okay, this is who I am. This is not who I am. These are my values. These are my characteristics. And I'm standing strong in those. And whatever I don't agree with, then I'm putting it to the side. So, in your own journey of becoming Miss New York and even just, in your career life, do you feel like there have been moments where you felt like you had to be a different version of yourself? And how did you kind of show up as your authentic self or kind of check yourself and be like, no, Taryn, like, this is not who you are?
Oh my God, all the time, every day, all the time. Like, I mean, like a major public event, all the time. I mean, if your natural inclination, like, I mean, especially being on, I mean, going to red carpets and going to influencer events or going to these dinners, right, where you're walking into a room. Again, I really feel like people underestimate how scary it is to be yourself. I think it's very scary to be honest and truly who you are because you run the risk of people not liking it, being made fun of, or being different. And being different is very lonely. Um, Not fitting in. I mean, I think human beings have like a natural inclination to try to like fit in because we're pack animals, and like I think there's something in our like our reptilian brain that's like, if you don't fit into the tribe, into the group, if you are ousted alone, you will die.
Yeah.
Accepted, you will survive. That I think is just human. So anybody who's like, I don't care if you guys don't like me, yes you do. Don't lie. Yes, you do. Who wants to not be part of it, right? So I think anything, I mean, I think my natural inclination when I walk into many rooms, especially as I move forward in my career, is I catch myself, um, like wanting to turn, like if I get excited about something, like I see someone I know, I want to be like, my natural inclination when I see someone, I want to give them hugs, I want to be loud, I'm like, ah, right? I want to make jokes. I always walk to events in my Birkenstocks or sneakers and I like shove them in a bag. And sometimes I walk into a room and like my stupid Birkenstocks or my shoes are in my bag, and everyone has these cute, Kate Spade. They have Marc Jacobs, right? They have these great bags.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, I'm my tote with me, rough. And so I catch myself feeling like feelings of like either regret or embarrassment, or I kind of want to be like, oh, I wish I looked or was different right now. And I catch myself doing that all the time. However, at this point in my life, I parent myself. I like to say that I parent myself. I talk to myself. Where
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're fine. No one's looking at you. No one really cares. They're all more concerned with themselves, to be frank.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. When I find that I just relax and walk into, I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna hide my Birkenstock and my ugly tote bag that's grimy, but I love my tote bag. I'm gonna put it underneath this, like behind this plant. I'm gonna go be part of this party. I'm gonna have fun, but also I won't be too proud. Like when I'm leaving the event, to like put on my dirty Birkenstocks, have my little tote bag with me, right?
Yeah.
And be like, all right, peace. I was leaving a dinner recently, and I did that, and somebody, this one gal, I mean, she was so sweet. She's very stylish. She was so she looked great. I could tell she's the type of person to never be caught with a tote bag, ever. I don't think she owned one. She was lovely. And she just started laughing so hard. She was like, girl, she's like, you just don't care. And I was like, I mean, I do, but the event's over. We're all heading out. I'm putting the Birks on. Like, let's go. And then she was like, are you going to go and get your Uber? And I'm like, no, I want to take the subway. Now, this is not me trying to be like, I'm going to try and be relatable. I am really just trying to live my life and be honest. Because if I were to take an Uber at like 11 blocks, I don't live far from, because I live in Manhattan, I can walk to almost everything. These are all choices I would be making to like fit in with the people around me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want to continue to be authentic. What would I really be doing in this situation? And so I remember just turning to her and she like, what she just thought was so funny. And she was like, I love you. She's like, I love that you just, and then she kept saying, I just love you. That is so funny. You're so fun. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm so glad that I was myself because this person allowed them to feel relaxed with me. She, I think she felt very like endeared towards me because I was being myself. But finally, I'd like to think that it gives people license as well to kind of just like to
Relax.
they put their guard down next to you.
Yeah.
And if that can be that for somebody, I'm so glad. I have no intention of being intimidated. I have no intention for as long as I live to intimidate anybody. And that's kind of my MO. And so I feel like being yourself, that is a superpower in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you ever feel like there was a moment where someone made you feel embarrassed for being yourself, or where someone just kind of like looked down upon you for being yourself? Have you ever been in that environment before?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Also all the time. I mean, come on. Yeah, absolutely. I don't like to get on like into camera. I don't ever want to be on a podcast where I'm like spreading this narrative that women are catty because I think that is a really tired narrative. I think it's lame.
Yeah.
It's like it just feels unnecessary. I think people can be petty, but sometimes I find in certain environments I'm very disappointed when I'm with a group of women and somebody. I expect it from men. I don't care. I expect men to take me down a peg every once in a while because that's just how men be existing. But when women do it to me, it hurts so much more because I remember there's always a moment during the exchange where I'm like, ah, ow, like, damn, like,
We
damn,
were
because
so close.
we were so close, and you had to make that last comment. Like, you had to just make that comment to just make sure that I got knocked down a peg. Like, people make comments. I'm thinking of one exact. I'm scared because I don't want everyone to watch this and be like, Tara was talking about me. One example that I can think of as a great example is, I mean, especially I have to be careful. Like I can't give feelings about being in a room with folks of all different walks of life, right? But and a lot of the women in this group are very accomplished, right? And somebody says, "How funny! Look, we have like a doctor, a lawyer, and then Taryn, what are you, a TikToker, right? Just trying to make kind of comments like, isn't that so funny? Like, it's just so funny."
Yeah.
And then one thing that I started doing to combat this is not pretend to laugh, or I just go, "Oh, that was mean." Like literally, just be like, "That was so mean. Let's dive into that. Why were you just mean?" You know what I mean? And I've honestly found that it actually makes people go like pale, and they're like, "Oh," and they'll often backtrack right away. "Oh my gosh, girl, I'm sorry. I really didn't. I meant that in a funny way." And but I also give people grace. I don't back them into a corner. I usually say, "Oh, I must have misunderstood." Right? I think you give people power and you allow them to go on and behave this way when you laugh along and then privately you're like, oh my God. Now, have I laughed along for many years? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm challenging myself to no longer laugh along because it's not something I would ever do to someone else. And I hope if I ever have, I'm sorry if I ever have, I really hope I haven't. And so it's something I kind of want to gently call out when I'm like, you didn't need to knock me down a peg. Like, I know you might be feeling threatened right now for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why you feel competitive right now. There's no judges in the room today. Chill. It's not that deep. But I get it. I do think that it's not fully our fault either. I think women, since the moment we are born, are pitted against each other.
Absolutely.
I think women, we are exposed to tons of media. Who wins? Jennifer Aniston or Angelina Jolie, right?
Who wore it better?
Yeah, and like that also like yeah, for example, like Tyra and Naomi, it was always just they could never exist in the same
Right.
space, right? It was always men never have that.
Never.
We're never like who's more handsome? Like nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that.
Literally.
And yet, and yet, you know, for women, and so I think that a lot of it is actually not our fault. I think a lot of that competition when it comes out, when the claws come out, I think I'm forgiving because I'm like, you're only trying to make me feel small right now because someone else has made you feel small,
Yeah.
or you feel like you have to make me feel small so that you can survive, and that's not true. But I forgive it. I do. It hurts my feelings, but I forgive it.
You are brave. I feel like I'm a confrontational person sometimes, but in settings like that, I'm like, I'm the Miss Laugh Along, okay? I'm not. I will talk. I will address it like with my friends or my mom or something. Like, can you believe this girl said this to me? But like in that moment, I just feel like I would be so scared to be like to call her out on that.
Oh, it depends on who it is, though. I'll be honest. There's been plenty of times recently that my problem is I'll laugh along and then I step away, and that's when I'm like, hang on a minute, that was rude. And sometimes it doesn't actually hit me right away. But I've had a couple moments, a couple I can literally think of, where I just stopped laughing and I was like, oh, like, why would you say that?
Yeah.
And I remembered that person vividly being like, you know what I mean? They just couldn't believe that I just addressed it.
Yeah.
I can think of a couple, but I can't get specific because they'll watch this and be like, oh.
No,
It's
don't give us all the tea. It's okay.
if you are watching and you at all in any way feel called out, just know I forgive you. It's okay.
Hey, I mean, if
It's
the
all
shoe
right.
fits, but it's okay. Taryn forgives you. What would you say is like the biggest reward that you've seen from just living your life unapologetically? Like, just being Taryn.
Oh my God, the people that come up to me. The I'll be walking my dog and somebody will stop and go, "Oh my God," and I'm like, "How you doing?" You know, and it's so beautiful. I get to we hug and we talk, and they usually almost immediately because folks feel like they know you. Like when they see you on social media, they really do feel like they know you, and in many respects they do. Although I don't know you, um, you do know me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's totally fair. Um, and then people will almost immediately share something very personal about their life, right? You know, you mean so much to me because I lost my dad and blah, 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 right? Or I was going through this breakup but right? People are very hungry to share. They
Yeah.
want to share, they want to be seen. They want you to know that you mean something to them. I think humans are amazing. Like when you really get to experience other people, it's so cool because you realize how similar we all are.
Mm-hmm.
We all struggle in the same ways and with the same things. Sometimes it varies, right? But empathy is really this wide, beautiful spectrum. In the same way, like I'm not a mother, but when you were sharing earlier about some things you struggle with, I can totally understand how I might feel that way too one day when I'm a mother,
Yeah.
right? So empathy is this amazing thing that I think we're all so deeply capable of. And so the most beautiful thing that's come from um, living a really public life, at least at this moment, this chapter has been made really wonderful for the people that have come up to me and shared themselves with me and trusted me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it means everything to me. I mean, it just blows me away. It really leaves me breathless sometimes how much it means to me.
I love that. Well, last question, because I know you're a busy New Yorker, but the last thing that I just kind of want to leave everyone with is what advice would you have for someone who is struggling with finding their authentic self? How would you say that they should navigate this chapter with figuring out who they are and being unapologetic about it?
I think these people will call these affirmations. I don't know if I've ever called. I think affirmations are really powerful. I think finding things every morning, um, every day doesn't have to be in the morning. Every day. Um, what do you like about yourself? List them out and frequently, all the time. List out these things about you. They don't have to be unique or special or crazy. They can be as simple as I think I'm a really good friend. Um, I know I'm a really good friend. I love that I'm. I can't right. There's so many things I love. I love my. I love my eyes. I love. They can be internal. They can be external. They can be all these things that you feel really positively about yourself, and then say them frequently and often. Say them out loud. Um, If there are people you trust, share them with people. Literally share this with people. Be like, can I share some things? But I'm low. I need to like share some things about myself that I feel positively about today. And when you do that, I think it makes your insides, your head, a more pleasant place to be and a safer place to be. And that is when you are most creative. I think that is when you are most yourself. I think that is when you're able to really lean into your authenticity. What does that look like? Your authenticity is the amalgamation of everything you love about yourself
Mm-hmm.
on full display. That is what it is. That's what it is. And so I think when you really embrace it, right? Um, that I think that's when you really shine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if y'all are going to take anything from this episode, just let it be live in your truth, be unapologetically yourself, and just like reap the benefits of what that means. You know, me and Taryn, we both have had seasons of our life where we didn't really know who we were and we figured it out along the way. And along the way, we were able to, you know, become Miss New York and become Miss Louisiana, become Heaven's receptionist and become a news correspondent and all of these different things. And it's because we decided to live in our truth and to just let people accept us for who we are. And they're either going to like it or they're not. And if they don't like it, then it's okay. Like, there are going to be people every single day where whether you walk into a room, whether you're walking on the street, some people are not going to think you're beautiful. People are not going to think you're cool. People are not going to think you're funny. Like, people are not going to think that you're talented. And that is okay, because as long as you know those things about yourself and you believe those things about yourself, then you open up the door for other people to see that and love that and embrace that about you as well. So don't dim your light. Don't little yourself down to try and fit into these boxes or these molds or these environments that you find yourself in. Be loud, be big, be bold, be yourself, and just watch how much you're able to accomplish and see success when you do that. So that's what I got to say.
I love it. Thank you, Mariah. Thank you for having me and sharing your own wisdom with me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know we've been chatting for a long time, and I feel like we could honestly chat for hours and hours, but I will not do that to y'all. Taryn, thank you so much for joining me today. You are just like a complete ray of sunshine, and you definitely brighten my day. So thank you so much. I love you guys so much, and have a great Monday. Have a great week. Yeah, that's all I usually say at the end of my episodes. I love you guys so much. Oh, Taryn's social medias will be in the description of the podcast, so check her out. She's funny, she's cute, she's hilarious. Okay.
Cute. She's TikToker. You know how it is.
All right, you guys. I will talk to y'all in my next episode. Bye.